You know, a teacher, I get long-winded.
Hi, everybody. I'm pretty excited today. We have Melanie Firestein, and she is uh, joining us at EHP Performance. And so, one of the coolest things when we got an opportunity to be in the morning chalk-up, which is sort of a CrossFit printed literature, a lot of people are like, why don't you have mental health? Like, why don't you have some mental health? And um, I guess probably the right answer is the right person hadn't come along yet. But I'm going to let Mel give her background and what she's currently working on. And I'm pretty excited to just hear about mental fitness
Yes.
today. So, Mel, I'll let you take it from
All
there.
right. Yeah. So super excited to be here and talking with you today, Karla. And so, again, Mel Firestein. And I think we have been talking about this since March, if I remember right. And finally, now it's July. And we're kicking off services here starting tomorrow. But so my background is I'm a clinical social worker. I have been in the field of social work in several different roles in the community, all the way from direct practice to supervisory to director roles in the community for 23, almost 24 years. And then I'm also a social work professor at MSUM. And so but beyond that, in my other life, health and fitness and athletics and sports and coaching has always been a passion of mine. I also was, a varsity high school athletic coach for about 13, 14 years, I think, before I retired. And so it's just a part of who I am, and kind of my being is being an athlete. Now, I thought, and Karla and I talked, and this kind of all came about. It was like just the stars aligning. It's like, how can I put all of these things together to create change in our community? Because there is a real need in the athletic health and wellness and fitness communities for mental health work. And so maybe I can just kind of start to go into that of why I'm doing that. So as athletes, we know we train our muscles, right? We train our muscles, we do our best to fuel our bodies properly, but oftentimes we forget to focus on how our bodies and our brains connect to manage our thoughts and emotions, which is just a huge part of who we are as well. We're not just robots, right? And in fact, as athletes, and you can probably attest to this too, Karla, and as a coach myself, we're often socialized to accept a certain amount of pain and deal with adversity, right? Because we got to push through if you want to get to the next level, fight through to become better at our skill. But there really, to me, is this missing component. And especially, there's been a lot of research done on college athletics, professional athletics now. And, we tend to minimize behavioral health systems like college athletes, coaches, athletic staff members, because it's really, when we think about it, if we admit weakness or defeat, right, it's almost like this counterproductive idea of being a mentally tough athlete. And so then what has happened is there's this social stigma, not only in the broader society, but in the athletic community as well, that we don't need behavioral health services and we can just push through it and we can just, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and do this. And so, these thoughts of insecurity or inadequacy, inferiority, or weakness are really, haven't really been looked at in the past as something that is can be productive, as far as being good at your sport. And then also athletes' mental health literacy, which includes, being able to distinguish, because as athletes, we really push ourselves physically, mentally, all of those things, that sometimes we don't understand the difference between kind of what's abnormal and normal stress, because we're putting our bodies and our brains and through stress all the time, a certain amount of stress. But what's become increasingly clear, and this is my social work background, okay? This is the way that social workers look at the world, is very holistically. And so the mind, the body, and the environment do not act independently. They're all interdependent. We're affected by multiple interactions, hundreds of factors every single day. Think about the decisions we have to make, how we walk through the world every day. And so we need to look at all of these things and learn how to connect our mind and body, or as I like to say, train our mental and emotional physique, is sometimes we forget about that, and that's equally as important. And so I truly believe that if we include regular mental health and emotional training in our daily practice, that this can be a vehicle to close that gap and provide athletes and with direction and transition periods of your journey through sport, like throughout your lifetime. So that's kind of the background and why I decided that I wanted to do this. So what is mental fitness? So Karla, you jump in anytime, right? Because I could talk forever. You jump in anytime. So what is mental fitness? Like this idea of mental fitness, it means having and maintaining a state of well-being and cultivating an awareness of how we think, behave, and feel. Okay, so keeping our brain and emotional health in good shape actively, being able to manage stress and build resiliency is really what it's all about. So if you think about it, it's really taking a minute, as the kids say, take a hot minute, right? To provide yourself some space to choose how to respond in a situation, whether it's a forethought, some sort of external stimulus coming at us, or a feeling, because we can't control those. We have feelings, they just come up. So it's like, what do we do with that? And if we're able to spend some time and do this, then we're less likely to sustain or cause emotional or relational injury. And it really gives us the ability to pause and respond in a way that we would like in the moment, rather than being automatic. And I'll talk about this in a second. And so, our limbic system, if we know about our brain and our limbic system, our HPA axis, it's like our amygdala responds to stimulus in our environment. And so if you think about fight, flight, freeze, or comply, right? You've heard about this. I tell my students, I call it the lizard brain. That's what we say. It's your survival brain, okay? We all have it. You can't control it, right? You can't, we as humans, our brains are designed to detect threats. Okay. And so we're automatically a negative species. I mean, we are, because we need to survive. Okay. And so, but now today, with kind of like our, modern day, a little more modern conveniences, those kind of things, that it looks a little different. It might not be survival necessarily of I need food, water, shelter. And that can be the case. We'll talk about that. But, just kind of those everyday stressors, our autonomic nervous system automatically reacts. And what do we do with that? And so, our brains carry thoughts along these neural pathways. So if you can think about your brain as, there's pathways in there, and we create ruts. And so they're reinforced over time. And so, like, for example, and you can probably say this happens. So I'll drive to work, and I have no idea how I got there, what turns I took. I don't remember the route. Have you ever done that? Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, that's your autonomic nervous system taking over. It's those neural pathways that you really don't need to think about much. Sometimes we use our drive home to just think about life and other things and our day and what we need to do and all of that. And our body just automatically responds to drive where we need to go. And so we're on autopilot. But when we repeat certain thought patterns many times, that neural pathway is constantly reinforced. And so our thinking can become very automatic. So like when you go pick up a barbell, if you've been coached for years, you know exactly what to do. Is you go, you grab it, and here's right. And that's just the movement, and that's what you do. But while daily routine can be really awesome, when it comes to our thought patterns, we have to be aware of what our routines are. Know thyself, right? Know thyself, and try to understand these pathways that we're inadvertently reinforcing. And honestly, you guys, this isn't like super hard work. And I'm going to show you in a little bit different things that you can do to create these new pathways. But with that automatic thinking, it can cause us to react in ways that are unhelpful in our situations. So whether it's in our relationships, whether it's in our interactions at work, whether it's with, interactions if you have children, whatever it is, because of your experiences in the past and these ruts that you have created in these neural pathways, you will likely automatically respond in a certain way because your HPA axis is saying, your lizard brain is saying, protect, 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 right? And so then we become defensive oftentimes, and then we just react. So as you build that mental fitness, the idea is that you're going to develop more awareness, have that mental strength. You'll have a little bit more agility to identify options and to choose a different route instead of these same old routes that you've always done. So thinking about Oh, go ahead, Karla. You have a question.
Yeah, it just it kind of reminds me of the kind of the old adage of like it's just like riding a bike, right? Like something you learned when you're little, and there's this pathway.
Right.
Um, but not all these things that we've learned are always healthy or
Right.
helpful to us.
Exactly.
Whether that's physically, mentally, emotionally, like psychologically, right? Like so these ruts, they could be a really good thing, or they could be a not so good thing.
Exactly. And we know that routine and pattern is really great in our lives because it helps us not have to deal with, I mean, there's so much information coming at us, and then we don't have to get, our body isn't stressed about these things. But like you said, oftentimes we create these neural pathways that are not helpful to us. And they may have been helpful to you in the time, right, that you created it. Like, if somebody was in a crisis or stressful situation when they were younger, or whatever that might look like, there are reasons that those pathways were created in your brain to protect yourself. But again, as you move through life, those things and circumstances can change. So then how do we change our thoughts and our responses to those things? So absolutely. And so really this part of the brain, honestly, we can reprogram it. I mean, you guys, you're amazing. You can reprogram it. The human mind is wild. And so, but we need to do this with the same deliberateness, that we strengthen certain muscles in our body and we fine tune movements, and we can create neural pathways to better serve and benefit our lives. We really can. And this is what I mean by mental fitness training. Okay. So I'll go into some of the things that we can do, but first I want to tell you, so what this can do for you is not only creating those new pathways, but when you do this practice daily, you can be more present. And when you say, oh, be in the present moment, what does that mean? Yeah, I'm here, I'm in this office. But being in a present state is you're okay, I'm here, I can feel this chair, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you, Karla, you're in front of me, and we can better retain and process information, listen, be aware of, without being sabotaged by distractions. So it helps us be more present in the moment, especially if we're somebody who, our attention is oftentimes taken 50 different directions, when we have so much going on. The ability to respond instead of automatically react to something, having control over those reactions and being able to respond in a less emotive way. Improved cognitive functioning, better focus, processing speed, memory, concentration, all of those things, and communication. Increased positivity. You can notice and reframe your thoughts when you're like, oh, I know why I'm reacting this way. Okay, take a minute and think, am I really in danger here? Is this really like what's happening? Okay. More confidence because you're reframing those thoughts. You can build those skills. You can keep developing those life skills to better manage your mental health, goal setting, mood management. And then obviously it's going to help improve your sleep as well. The research shows. So, yeah.
So question for you, like, I mean, obviously I work in more of the physical health realm.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of mindset training to help athletes, because a lot of returning from injury isn't just physical, it's getting the
Right.
mental around it. But like a lot of times people don't understand their brain, they don't understand how it works.
Mhm.
And when you say react instead of respond, sometimes I think that's very scary for people when they just react, and then it sets off this alert system, and it's very scary for them. And
Yeah.
so even in like the physical world too, I think sometimes even just educating people and telling them about the why, like, why is this happening? And then how do we slow transition? How do we change that? I think that like education part about people even understanding their own brains, even just the knowledge of it helps things become less scary, if that
Right,
makes sense.
exactly. Yeah. And so an example of this, okay, I'll give you a personal example. So I deal with anxiety quite a bit, and my motor runs high. This is how I describe myself, is my motors always run high. That's the way I am, and I'm better when I'm like going, right? But sometimes I get anxious about things, but I don't, it's taken me years to figure out to stop and say, okay, listen to what's happening to my body. Like my heart rate starts going. I start getting flushed cheeks and then I start cleaning or doing something. I have to be moving my body. And instead of just like I'm automatically doing this, okay, stop a minute. Okay, breathe, and then I go through my breathing practices, which we'll talk about. And then, what is this all about and why am I so anxious? And I just need to take a minute to recognize why my body is reacting this way so I don't continue to, as you say, freak out, right? Like, so I don't continue going down this way, or I figure out what I need, like what needs I need to have met in the moment so that I can, take care of myself so it doesn't continue down that spiral. Absolutely. And again, we're wired. Honestly, we're wired for negativity bias. Our brains are. Research tells us that they've done a lot of research on this. When we have one positive thought during the day, we have 3 negative thoughts. And so that it just goes like that. And so trying to change those, but take those negative thoughts and say, okay, wait a minute again, is this really a threat, or what's going on, or is this serving me? And sometimes we develop this all or nothing thinking or polarized thinking. So for example, if I'm in a relationship or I have a friendship and I'm trying to say something and she never listens to me, or if I'm a person, I'm always late. These are cognitive biases. This isn't, necessarily the truth of what's happened. It's just the way that we think in our neural pathways. And so we have these assumptions that are rooted in this involuntary reaction. We jump to these conclusions without looking for evidence, to support our thoughts and all of that. And so again, we can't, control this autonomic process, but we're responsible for learning its tendencies and managing it. So just like we're good stewards of our bodies, we want to be good stewards of our mind. Okay. So, you want to practice something with me?
Yes, but hold on that thought. There's something that you said that, like you mentioned about like these 1 positive and 3 negative thoughts. Yes. And I think the one biggest thing that like I've learned through mindset training is like, you actually can't control the thoughts that come into your head. Like they're going to come no matter what. And I personally, as an athlete, I thought if I had negative thoughts, like I thought poorly of myself. But understanding that you can't actually control the thoughts, like they're going to come into your head, but you can control what you focus on, how you react, and how you respond to those thoughts.
Right.
And that is the part that you can really work to improve on. When you're like training your mind, like the biggest part for me is like, I just thought I was a terrible athlete because I had these negative thoughts in my brain, but that actually happens to the best of the best. It's just a matter of what you do with them. Exactly. And I think that was the coolest part about, it was kind of a big epiphany moment for me as an athlete. Because I thought maybe the best athletes never had a negative thought.
Oh no. We all do, right? Every day, day, everybody does, Yeah. And so, absolutely. And I love that you said that, because that happens, like you say, then there's this spiral of shame and blame. And am I a bad athlete? Am I a bad person? Why am I so negative all the time? Why, rather than saying, okay, I have this negative thought. Let's take a minute. Okay. Yeah, right. And then you can kind of rationalize different things. I'll give you another quick example. So I was on vacation for a week and I came in, and I think it was on Friday, and it was really hot and I hadn't eaten enough. I drank plenty, but I hadn't eaten enough. And we were doing box jumps, and Courtney was the coach, and I love box jumps and burpees. I do. I love burpees. I'm a weirdo. And, my body wouldn't go. My body just, it wouldn't go. It wouldn't go. Like my legs didn't want to jump the box. I just looked at her and I was getting down on myself, and I'm like, oh, what is your deal? This isn't like you. And I just looked at Courtney. I'm like, my legs won't go. And she said, just step up if you can. Just make it through. Just if you can. And I just had to think for a minute. Okay, just step up on the box, right? Just do what you can. Instead of getting completely down on myself and saying, I quit, I'm done. I can't do this how I normally do. Yep. And so again, yes, those negative thoughts are there, but just kind of reframing it. Yep. Like you said, absolutely. So, okay, one of the best ways to become more mentally fit, and oh my gosh, I know people hate this word, But you can call it grounding, you can call it earthing, you can call it whatever, but it's meditation. And it's not sitting on top of I mean, if you want to go sit on top of a hilltop or a mountaintop and do your ohms and all of that, that's great. Okay. But this seriously takes 1 minute. 1 minute of your day. You can be standing. You can be in the middle of the gym, maybe even. That would be good practice for focus. Or you can be sitting in your chair. So you just sit comfortably in your chair, your feet on the ground, just drop your hands in your lap. Okay. And you just lower your eyes a little bit. So you're just kind of whatever, focused. You can close your eyes if you want. I personally don't like to close my eyes, but you can close your eyes if you want. And we're going to do some 5x5 breathing. So what that means is you're going to follow your breath. You're going to take a big deep inhale all the way to belly breath for 5 seconds, count to 5, and then slowly let it out your mouth, like out. Breathe out for 5. Okay? And you do this 5 times. And you keep doing it. And out. There's 2. Now keep going. And if your mind wanders, that's okay. Just bring it back. We got 3 left. And out. And just bring it back again. You can almost see that breath coming through 5 times. And out. Let's do one last time. One last time in. And out. That's it. It took 1 minute. Okay. And what you're doing is you're grounding yourself and you're centering yourself and you're paying attention to your body and your breath. This can be, it doesn't have to be this way. There's many different ways that you can implement grounding practices throughout your day. So many of us are busy, so many of us have so many things going on. I do this a lot in my car. When I'm driving, I'll just be quiet and I'll just focus in my car if that's my time to go from one thing to the next. There's lots of different things that we could do. And another example that I'll give you is, so I do clinical supervision with social workers who want to get their clinical license in the community. And one particular person is in the healthcare industry and in total crisis situation every single day, works 7 days a week, all that. Okay. Has to go from one crisis situation to another. And was really struggling with, okay, I need to go to this patient, how do I reset? And so what we came up with is they took the stairs up and down all the time. And so in between patients, whatever floor they had to go to, I would have them count the steps, breathe and count the steps. And just by doing that, you're bringing your mind and your body together and you're focusing on, I'm not focusing on what I have to do next, what I just did, the things that I heard that I have to help deal with in this crisis situation, but I can count the steps until I get back. And that seemed to really, really help. So again, those are just kind of little things that you can do, little grounding practices that you can do. Okay.
Interesting. One of our members, we had her on a couple months ago, Caitlin Polstead. So she's a clinical psychologist. And one of the things when I interviewed her, just about general things about our medical fitness facility, a very interesting thing she said is, some people think meditation needs to be this, like, I'm going to do yoga, I'm going to be all zenny. And she goes, what people don't actually understand is, like, if they come to a class that's coached, the coach is asking them to do something and they're having to replicate it. They're having to move their mind and their body together in unison to make this stuff happen. And she's like, what people don't really even understand is, like, they come to a class and if they can focus for even a portion of it, that's almost an hour that they're meditating,
Yes.
right? Because they're in this state of, I'm responding to all these things and I'm bringing everything together. And she said that was the coolest part for her, which is why she thought that this type of scenario or situation was really good for mental health, because, you can, if you go train on your own, it's not that it can't happen, but usually a coach is asking for something very specific. And then it's like, can I incorporate that and move everything together in those ways? So I thought that was a really interesting thing. Everybody's like, I think a lot of people know they need to meditate, but like you said, there's so many ways as to how.
Right.
how you can do it.
And when you hear the term and you think of this scary again, you know, you need to be sitting in a crisscross position and just like an hour or laying down, you know, no. And Caitlin, that's amazing because I agree. I say the reason that I love to come to the gym is because I have to make decisions all day long. And I have to think all day long, you know, and I'm up here constantly. And so I go, you guys tell me what to do and I do it. You know, I don't have to think about it. The workout's done, right? And so, and then you're bringing that body and that mind. So absolutely, wonderful point. So lots of different things that you can do to really create those new neural pathways. So again, you know, when you're driving down the road, what's going to happen is you kind of theoretically you have more traffic lights, signs to help you determine where it is that you want to go. You're marking new routes to a new destination, to where you want to go, and then you can have more conscious responses to that, those automatic responses that you or and emotions that, you know, they come there's nothing you're going to do about that. And so it's like, what can I do to deal with that? So you know, with that too. And so instead of mindlessly scrolling through social media, or you know, just getting that snack and eating and just, you know, whatever, me milk duds, right? Stop. Why am I doing this? Do I really need these? You can develop that heightened awareness of your thought and behavior patterns. Okay. And so again, this is going to allow you to develop more resilience, emotional regulation, and positive emotions. Okay. I know I'm kind of going over, maybe really quick. Can I tell you the 9 ways to get more mentally fit?
Sure.
And I'll quit. I promise. See, I told you.
Yep. If I have a patient walk in, I'm sorry.
Number 1, exercise. Just like what you and Caitlin had said, right? You know, that's connecting your mind and body, and it releases that tension. Number 2, which we all know and we've heard a gazillion times, is eating well and hydrating. Hydrate. We're all doing that this month of July here. And so make sure we're doing that. That daily meditation, if you have questions about different things that you can do, just seriously, it takes a minute. If it's in between your day, different grounding techniques, I can help you out with that. Keeping a gratitude journal. And, you know, it's just being able to say every once in a while, I mean, you can even type it on your phone or have a list up or put it on your mirror, whatever, just something that you're grateful for in that one day. I personally especially do this on my worst, like when I'm having tough days, is that's when I grab for it and say, okay, I have food, I have, you know, all of these things. And then make it a goal to notice things as part of your day, and always be curious, like stopping yourself saying, I'm just automatically doing this. Like, what can I notice new about my day? Practice savoring, slow down, be in the moment, say, you know, this is cool. Oh, look at this new tree, you know, whatever it is, like this is cool. When you step outside, or having that awesome feeling of crawling into bed, you know, at the end of the day. Practice that reframing. Ask yourself, you know, when you're going to react, is this helpful? Is this kind? Is this helping me reach whatever goal I want? Practicing that body awareness. What is my body doing? How is it feeling? Why is my heart beating like this? And then remind that lizard brain to keep, you know, have a list of enabling thoughts or visual reminders of, you know, I had a tough workout, but coach gave me great feedback and now I can do it. Okay, that's kind of that enabling thought. Now I can do it. So, but one thing before we end, Karla, that I did want to say is I need to recognize that this stuff that we're talking about is stuff that we can do when we're more in a state of homeostasis and things are going on and we're not in a crisis state. Okay. If we're in a crisis state, I just implore you to seek help immediately. You know, you're not going to think yourself out of a crisis state if you have severe and persistent mental illness and mental health issues. This is when more specialized treatment is needed. And so you talk about prehab, and that's what we're talking about here today is prehab. And so it's just really incredibly important. If you're struggling, please reach out. You know, that autonomic nervous system is there for a reason, and those reasons. So if you need help, please do that. No, you're not alone. There's tons of help out there.
So Mel, so you're going to be, you're taking clients out of EHP Performance, and are you, you know, you talked today, you're working with a lot of that prehab or that mental fitness Are you also taking people who are a little bit more in crisis at?
I am. And so, what the processes would be is that if you wanted to come and work with me at Mindfit here through EHP, we would do an assessment and we'd do a full biopsychosocial assessment to see what's going on in your world. Okay. Then we'd sit down and we'd have that conversation during that assessment, and we'd figure out and determine what's best for you. What meets your needs best? Is it more of this kind of prehab mindset, kind of making sure that we're mentally fit, or is it, do I have some significant mental health concerns that I need some specific treatment for? And we'll determine what route that is, and we can take either route. You know, again, I'm a clinician. I can do therapeutic interventions and things like that as well. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. And I think also if you are a team that's looking for some mind fitness and mindset training for teams, I know that Mel and I are both willing to work with teams as well.
Love
So
you.
awesome. Well, we are so happy to have you on board. And this is a
Happy to be here.
big step, I know, with your own practice. So I can't wait for you to get rolling and to be able to offer another service at EHP.
Stop by anytime, everybody, and I'd love to chat. So
All right. Thanks, Mel.
thanks, Karla.
Bye.
Take care.